This is Echoes of Aincrad, more specifically the demo, which takes place during the beta phase of the game Sword Art Online. Today I am going to take you through my journey with the beta. I'll talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, and perhaps most importantly, a few things I really hope to see added in the final game. Our story starts with you, a brand new player, dropping straight into a dungeon. You were supposed to meet up with your friends, but because you took too long to log on, they have already gone on ahead in search of an item called a relic. Now, just like me, you might mistake this opening area for a tutorial, thanks to all the pop-ups appearing on screen, and maybe it is a tutorial, but if so, it's a pretty poorly designed one. Usually when a prompt appears on the screen, you should be put into a scenario where your character can actually test the prompt, but in this opening, you have to wait until you come across the next enemy before you can test it. And also, just like me, if you did mistake this for a standard tutorial level, you might have made the same blunder that I did and progressed through the map very slowly. That's a mistake because this map is actually pretty long and it's a story mission as well. After fumbling around like a noob for 20 minutes, which honestly felt kind of immersive, I started getting the hang of things, and if you've ever watched Sword Art Online, you know that the new players always struggle at the start, and you definitely feel that struggle here as you get used to the controls. Eventually I stumbled into a room only to discover that almost all of my friends had been attacked and killed. With his final dying breath, our last remaining friend, Clark, warned us to watch out for Stella. Okay, so I might have been a little bit over dramatic then. The death game hasn't actually started at this point in the story, so they aren't permanently dead, they just respawn somewhere else. But the question still remains, who is this Stella? Immediately after, we're surrounded by enemies and forced to fight for survival. Just when it looks like it's the end for us, we are saved by an anonymous player. He asks if we would like to team up and conquer the dungeon together to save time. Once we agree, he reveals his name to be Iori. With our new partnership forged, Iori and I head off to finish the dungeon, but not long after, we run into a pink-haired girl screaming for help. She asks us to rescue her friend after they got split up during a boss attack. We agree to help and rush on to the boss room as fast as possible. Finally, we arrive. Off in the distance, we see a girl sitting on the floor. I think she was trying to summon Batman, but she got us instead. We ask if the girl is okay, but while Iori is focused on her, he notices an attack coming from behind. It's the pink-haired girl we met earlier. It turns out these two are well-known PK'ers, and wouldn't you believe it, the black-haired girl is none other than Stella. Just as we try to get our revenge, the dungeon boss appears and the PK'ers dip out. Left with no choice, we have to fight and defeat the boss ourselves. We win the battle, exit the dungeon, and finally make our way over to the town of beginnings. Once we arrive, Iori shows us around. He introduces us to the inn, where we can register for a room, the blacksmith, where we can craft and upgrade equipment, and finally the item shop. You know, where you can buy items. Now that I know where the local shops are, I equip my new weapon and gear. With our gear sorted, we head out on a few missions to level up and earn some gold. I won't go into too much detail about what happens in specific missions because I highly encourage anyone watching this to download the demo and experience it for themselves. But to cut a long story short, we meet two new friends in our beta journey. The first is Argo, who you'll definitely recognise if you've watched the anime. She's the information broker. And then there's Cal, or as the players call him, the famous Cal. He is an incredibly skilled solo player who is quite mysterious if I do say so myself. Nearing the end of the beta, you take on one final mission for Argo. She needs some information and wants you to retrieve it. The only catch? It's a dungeon meant for at least 4 players. And that's where Cal comes in. Because he's so skilled, he basically counts as 2 players. So with the team assembled, you head out on your final beta mission. This quest takes you through the full map of the beta area and into a cave dungeon. The whole sequence is a ton of fun, and you'll actually learn quite a lot about Cal along the way. The story ends with all 4 new friends promising to meet up again on the game's full release. It's a genuinely heartwarming moment, but as we know with Sword Art Online, not all stories have a happy ending. So, now that I have broken down the story of the beta, let's get into my actual thoughts of the game. This is probably a good time to mention that this is just the demo of the game, so it might not completely reflect how the full game is going to act and look. I've not really spent too much time looking at some of the early access of the game that some of the other YouTubers has actually played, but I have seen a few things. I saw a lot of people, you know, complaining about a silent protagonist, but then in the videos that the early access has, the character has a voice. So, you know, it's stuff like that. The stuff we've seen in the demo may not be a problem in the full game. First off, I'm loving the story so far. I'm quite interested to see where it's going to go from here. Because a lot of the gameplay loop is running around the fields and just fighting, I think having a good story for a game like this is quite essential to keep the game from getting too repetitive. But to bounce off of that, I think my primary concern is that the world just feels quite empty. While there were plenty of other players, you know, walking around the town, the fields were completely barren of other players, and they weren't out there hunting monsters. It makes the world feel a bit lifeless, and on top of that, the zones we run around all just felt like one large linear corridor leading to our next objective, which is a shame because I actually think the combat is done very well. I loved dashing around with my dagger and fighting monsters. The progression felt highly rewarding as I leveled up and upgraded my equipment and unlocked new skills. As a player, you can really feel yourself getting stronger. To be fair to the game though, it does advertise itself as an action RPG, but when you're dealing with a universe like Sword Art Online, I feel like it's a missed opportunity for the combat to be the only major focus of the game. If you've watched the anime, I always love the idea of players buying houses. You know, they could run their own market shops by using the skills they've leveled up. You could grind out cooking and fishing and find the rarest fish and then create the ultimate stat buff. And I can totally understand why they didn't launch the game with co-op. It's a massive technical commitment for a project that they just don't know how the reception is going to be. But games have been known to add features like that down the line, and forming a party to head out in the fields would be incredibly fun. It's still early days, but I would love to see the RPG side of the game truly expand. And on top of all that, when you're running around the fields and you're looking at the sun or you go and look over a cliff, the game looks beautiful. You can't deny it. There's just a lot of potential with this game. They wanted to see how players would receive this game. Well, you had my curiosity. Now you've got my attention. Let's just hope you know what to do with it. To wrap things up, I'm genuinely looking forward to this game, and I am excited to see where the series will go from here. I've already decided that I won't be carrying over my beta progress over to the full game. I want to start completely fresh with a brand new character, and I can't wait to see how far I can push my dagger skills, and of course, drip my character out in some serious fashion. If you've enjoyed the video and want to see more Echoes of Aincrad content, feel free to hit that subscribe button. I cover all types of RPG games on this channel, so if that's your thing, make sure to give the notification bell a ring. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in the next chapter.